Welcome back to season 2 of the Katie Wellness Show. I am back with more amazing tools, awesome interviews, and some great discussions to help you optimize your health, body, mind, and spirit. Not only can you use these tools every day, you can also teach them to your children and to your family members so that you can raise emotionally and physically resilient children, so that you can show up more in your life, that you can take back your personal power. Get ready to tap into your intuition. I'm so excited that you're here. You are worthy of health and of joy and of thriving in your motherhood, thriving in your life. Thank you for being here today. I am so excited to hear more about your story, for one, like through chronic illness and the backstory behind the Limitless Integrative Wellness. It's such a unique idea to gather professionals in so many different areas, taking care of the body, mind, spirit. I love that that emphasis. That is where my heart is at too, because we as human beings, we are so interconnected.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that perspective from you. So will you start, Kristina, by telling my listeners a little bit about yourself and your Limitless Integrative Wellness?
Yeah. So I am a therapist by trade, a holistic psychotherapist, social worker, is where, where it really all began. So when I went to grad school, we focused on social welfare, which encompasses the entire person, right? So I kind of took that into private practice. And when I was being trained in a holistic model, I always approached my clients with, a wide net of things that we can, improve or change. And not everybody really thinks about that when they come to therapy. They think they can only go to therapy when they're in crisis or when something is severe. But I like to look at it as you can go when things are not severe too, and you can use it as a way to enhance any of your goals that you're working on. It doesn't have to be crisis related. Although I do well in a crisis. It's always, I am also there for that. But there's also all these other things that we can work on together as a team. In my counseling journey, I've always approached my clients with that wide net and trying to help people enhance all areas of their lives. When I got sick myself and was dealing with a slew of autoimmune disorders that were all hitting at once in 2021, when it wasn't really easy to go and just address these things, I started to develop a team of people. Some I've known for a while, and some that I was discovering along the way. And I kind of melded together that mind, body, spirit that you were talking about right before we hopped on this call. I kind of melded that together. And the way I phrase it is I took what resonated and I left the rest. So I wasn't really having a lot of success with Western modalities only. So I wanted to marry Eastern and Western and take little bits and pieces and see what would help me. And I was lucky enough that in my searching, I was able to find a bunch of different types of, I would say clinicians, coaches, other mediums of all kinds to just kind of work together. And including, a traditionally trained medical doctor and a traditionally trained NP. And then, I also incorporated spiritual coaching. I incorporated different types of therapy, a lot of different models, but I tried it on myself first that's the long story is I tried it on myself first. I tried to see what would work for me, and whatever I found worked for me, I then offered that insight to my clients, and then it kind of took off from there.
I love that your heart is in it. You tried it all first, and I feel like it is in that marrying of the Eastern and the Western that we truly find healing, because both sides have something to offer. They have value that they can bring. And when we rely only on one versus the other, you miss so much of that. I feel like emotional side, the spiritual side, the mental. I mean, you can focus on
Yeah.
on the
I mean,
mental
it
side with,
enhances.
yeah. Um, so I love that. So in going through this chronic illness, trying to find what can I do to help my body? How can I fix this at the root instead of just find a band-aid? Which you didn't say that. That was my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to fix it at the root instead of just a band-aid fix. Oh, here's some medication that will help. Um,
Yeah. So here's the thing, the medication aspect, if you don't mind me kind of hopping in for a second.
Yeah, please.
When I was trying to get an answer so that I could at least start somewhere. And I wanted to start, for me, it's important about having a strong foundation. And this is also what I teach my clients, right? We have to start at the ground and work our way up. So, growing up in a holistic family and my mom being a very holistic oriented mom 40 plus years ago, where it wasn't super trendy to be holistic as a mom, right? It's super trendy now, but it wasn't then. So, kind of growing up with that knowledge and understanding that I can incorporate things that people might think are woo woo. I can incorporate things that people don't understand because it doesn't have to resonate with everyone else. It has to help me. Right. So I was going to doctors in specialties that I thought, could help point me in the right direction. But when I kept getting, I kept hitting a wall, or I was literally being gaslit in the session, I was finding a lot of frustration in that because I do have faith in both the marriage of Eastern and Western, but I wasn't getting very far with the Western aspect of it. I also had a hard time finding a GP that can help me in the middle of COVID. Like, this is the middle of COVID. I couldn't find, everybody's in crisis at this point. Like, I couldn't just walk into a doctor's office and be like, here's everything that's going on, which sometimes a family practitioner would be able to look at it all functionally and be able to help me. I didn't have that. So I was going through all these different experiences. And then finally I was pretty frustrated because I knew fundamentally it had to be a mixture of, diet, lifestyle, my stress balance. I needed to reassess what I was prioritizing in my personal life, my work life, and all those things kind of fell into different categories, all those particular topics. And then eventually, come 2022, I was able to find a family practitioner who, she didn't have anything negative to say about all the research I already did, which I wasn't having that experience either. When I would go in and I would give somebody all the things that I already knew to be true, I was like, well, how do you know that that's what? Well, because I trialed and errored it myself. And they're like, well, there's no scientific data to prove blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So my, my new doctor was like, this is her. What she really said to me was, no one is God. So I can't tell you what absolutely wouldn't work for you. She's like, who am I to say that it couldn't work for you? Like, I am not all seeing and all knowing. So I can't tell you, even if I don't understand it, I can't tell you to not try it. It's not going to hurt you. So I was like refreshed at that response. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to try all of these other things. I'm going to try ozone. I'm going to try, a medical medium. I'm going to try juicing. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that, try to address inflammation. And because she was also feeling super stumped with certain things that were showing up in my results as well. She was like, oh, I've never seen this before. I don't know. Like, let's try this. Let's try that. And she's like, oh, it doesn't sound crazy to me that you would want to try nutritional changes. It doesn't sound crazy to me that you would want to try. And being able to work with her in that way helped me feel less crazy because I had already spent 2 years being gaslit by all these other professionals. So it helped me feel, oh, okay, so it's not, I didn't really need the validation, but sometimes it's nice to have it. You know what I mean? You ever have that experience? Yes. So, so I grouped all of these individuals together and I had an actual Zoom call with a lot of them. And I said, this is this person, this is this person, this is this person. What do you guys think? Let's compare notes. And so when I was able to do that and everybody was able to respect each other's field, respect each other's knowledge, respect each other's experience, and not everybody held a medical degree, but everybody treated each other with such reciprocity and mutual, I guess back to the word respect was super important. And that is kind of where the idea for the Mind Spa was born, was the fact that my treatment team that I developed myself personally was able to work together to help get me to the other side of this obstacle that I was experiencing and help me get to a point where I felt like I was functioning again. It took me over 2 years to get there with a mixture of prescription and vitamins and lifestyle changes. All the things were revamped. So when everybody was able to work together so nicely, I said, why can't we make this a thing? Like, why can't we make this a collective? Why can't we make this a workshop where we all share our own expertise and our own knowledge and our own, it doesn't have to be a shared experience, but it could be a shared forum of knowledge. So that's kind of how the collective started. I ended up finding a space that was large enough where everybody could come and meet each other and hang out and talk to each other and learn more about each other's businesses. And it's evolved ever since.
I love that so much, that
you found so many professionals, one, that were willing to be open to these other modalities and other perspectives, that are willing to be respectful of these other people as well, but also knowing what is in their lane, like staying in their lane. This is my specialty. This is my area. This is what I know I can help with. And then clients that you work with can pick and choose what they feel is best or intuitively know is best, or get recommendations from other practitioners within the scope of this wellness collaborative.
And I think it's super important you're saying scope. Scope of practice is very important because as a therapist, my scope of practice is limited in the sense that I can't advise on medical issues. I can't advise on nutritional issues. I can suggest, I can point in a direction that you might want to take and explore a little bit more. And I'm able to now refer you to people who do both in-person and virtual consultations to make it easier and accessible, but also someone who can take you the next leg of your trip, right? So you could come back to me and let me know how it's going. Of course, I want to know. I'm the cheerleader in the corner that's like, let's see what's going to happen from this. Let's throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, and then let's see what we can create from there. And if I'm lucky enough to be on this journey with them, I get to see the results of that. Sometimes I'm not lucky enough to be on the entire journey, but I do get information after the fact because COVID made a lot of people relocate. I got my license in multiple states to try to keep in touch with a lot of my clients and to be able to keep working with them. But sometimes I wasn't able to, like, I'm not licensed in California, for example, where you are. And so some of my clients went there. So, but I did get emails and I did get updates on where people landed. And so it's important to make sure that you also know and your listeners know that the collective we're based in New York, but we're not stuck here. We're able to go anywhere a lot of us are able to work in multiple states or globally.
That's amazing. That was one of the questions I was going to ask. So thank you for addressing that. So within this wellness collective that you have, will you please tell me the different types of practitioners or professionals that you have and the services that they provide?
Absolutely. So I guess I'll go in order. I was going to say, how do I want to explain it? I'll go in order.
Okay.
So, all right. So there's myself and my co-founder, Julie Stark, who we run the clinical psychotherapy side of things. So we are licensed in 4 states. So that's New York, Florida, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. And we're able to provide in-person or telehealth counseling in all of those states. So that's called Root and Rise Clinical Specialists. That's one member of the collective. Then we have Regina Mackey, who is the owner of REM Fitness. She's a personal trainer specializing in women's fitness. She is located in the town next to me, but she does virtual online workouts. So she's available that way. Then I have this one's not mobile, but she can do things. It's very interesting. So I'll do my best to explain it. But Megan, I call her Meg the Egg. And if she hears this, she's going to be like, that's me. All right. So Megan Fesmere, she does Harmony Light and Wellness. And she has, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's called the Harmonic Egg. And I go like this because it's like 18 feet wide and about like 10 feet tall. It's a gigantic wood carved musical egg that you get to sit in and do sound and light therapy in like a pod. So she's got one of the first harmonic eggs that has ever been in New York. She was able to bring over a second one with another co-founder in another city in New York, but she is the only harmonic egg that's in the area. The next one is, I believe, in Massachusetts, and then I believe there's one in California. So she's got the harmonic egg. She's not virtual, however, she can do sound and light therapy virtually for you, and she explains more on how that works. So that's another member. Then I have Emily McGee, who is the owner of M Wellness, and she's our healer / nutritionist. She specializes in a couple things. Nutrition response is one of them. I've been working with her for many years. She's one of the people that helped heal me on my journey, as is REM Fitness, because I had to change the way I was taking care of my body. And I had to get stronger in different ways. So Emily McGee, she does a lot of workshops with German New Medicine. She does healing, coaching, wellness workshops for new moms so that people aren't super scared about how to care for their child when they are sick, and that they don't have to run to the pediatrician every single time they have a cough. So she tries to help people feel a little bit more empowered taking care of their family. So that's another collective member. Then I have April Lee, who is my NP. She is the owner of Mindful Med and Ivy Lee Aesthetics. So she does concierge psych NP work. So she does in-person and virtual psychiatry consults. She also does vitamin IV infusions, and she does Botox, NAD, other things like that. But she marries it with the vitamins and the consultation to make sure that we're not just trying to focus on the external, and that we're also focusing on the internal. And she has a lot of really awesome products that support that. She actually is with me full time in this space. So she's somebody that I refer to pretty often. Then I have Tara Lawless. She is my licensed massage therapist, and she also does Reiki infused massages. She does healing and coaching virtually and in person. She specializes in chronic illness and MS. She also does lymphatic drainage, cupping, and other cool things like that. Then I have Kim Stahl, who's our caterer. She does a lot of event planning and healthy meals and things like that. She'll do meal plans for people. She'll consult with other people on the team for guidance for each client, but she does all of our events. Then I have Kristina Scheinberg, who is a licensed mental health counselor. She's also part of Root and Rise, but she works independently also. And she specializes in something called RTM, and that's the reconsolidation of traumatic memories, which is really, really interesting. It uses CBT and neurolinguistics to help change the way your brain looks at things. Then I have April Alder. She does mind power healing hypnotherapy, and she specializes in hypnosculpting and hypnozempic, which is it sounds exactly what it sounds like. She helps people not have to be on GLP-1s forever, and she helps them use their mind to help get over any mental blocks that they have about having the physique that they desire. I know.
That is a lot of professionals. And I just feel like I want to plan a trip and just come meet everyone. Like this is such an amazing resource for so many people.
I have two more.
Okay. I won't cut you off. Thank you.
I have Whispers Bridge, which is a nonprofit sisterhood rooted in recovery and self-discovery. They are traveling. They're a nonprofit traveling retreat. So they can go anywhere to host a retreat if you wanted to do a workshop or, any sort of, it's essentially like a soft landing for anybody that's in recovery right now that wants, a community. That's them. Then I have Kristina Levy, who is also an LMT, but she also does acupuncture. So I have that as well. So a lot of people will double as energy healing and do a lot of online coaching. So almost everybody on this list does that virtually. That's everybody.
Amazing. That's a lot. I did not know what I was getting myself into in asking that question, but what an amazing resource for people who need a little bit more support than what can be offered through the Western or traditional medicine. And for a lot of people, healing is very individual. We come from so many different backgrounds, so many different beliefs and thought patterns that you really do need a lot of the brain reprogramming. And, how is your body going to respond to different nutritional changes or different exercise? Yes.
Yeah, it's essentially, like I was saying, we cast a wide net, but not every single provider is somebody that you need to work with. You can pick and choose who you want to work with, and you can pick and choose what exactly that you want to work on, right? So like there's so many wonderful people. I also have people that are coming in January that'll be here more. So I'll have a sound healer who's here full time. I'll have a concierge MD who's here full time. It's the same one that helped me through my journey. She was so, I would say inspired by what I was able to create in the last couple of years. Plus she saw how the system was going in our, dare I say, our country. And she was a little burnt out from the models that they were, essentially forcing upon doctors. And so she decided to hop out, create her own practice, and come and join me over here at Limitless and take the time to take care of her patients the way that gives her a voice and autonomy in treatment. And I think it's super important that, we highlight that I think that a lot of things in our world are cyclical. And at some point we come back around in that circle where things are back to where they used to be when we modernize with technology and with, science, which is great, which is awesome that we can say that we've done that, but then we've moved away from treating the whole person. We now have moved away from that, and we're only treating the symptom, and the symptom can be masked in something else. So I think what we're starting to see now is the trend is swinging back, and we're going back to treating the individual. We're going back to treating the entire person's life, and it's not just the actual symptom that's presenting. And we're also changing the way that care is being administered. And I think we're going back to one-to-one and quality of care instead of where we were seeing it trend, which was numbers, more, less quality of care.
Yes. I can't wait. I can't wait until we're back to that full circle where some of these other modalities that we know work are accepted as not the woo woo, like, oh, whatever you're doing, that's witchcraft, that's woo woo, that doesn't really work, it's all in your head, those types of things. I can't wait for it to come back as that whole
what I would say is
wellness.
If it is in our head, Lindsey, if it is in our head and it's helping me, why do you care? Okay, it's helping me. If it is all in my head, okay, then let it be there.
Yes, it's helping. So what if it's placebo? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So with this huge list of resources, where can we go to find out? Maybe one of my listeners heard, oh, I want to try working with this practitioner. How do they find more about these practitioners or connect with them?
Yeah. So if you go to www.limitlessintegrativewellness.com, and it's spelled out exactly like that, no fancy spelling on that. And you go, there's two sections. There's to become a member, which is also available globally. If you didn't have to be based in New York to become a member, you can be anywhere. So there's a section that says become a member. You can click there, or there's a book now. And when you click book now, it goes directly to the collective page. And then each provider is listed in order, like the order I just read to you. And then you have a little book now feature on all of their pictures. So you can just go and click visit their website or book with them directly.
What are the advantages to becoming a member versus just booking now?
So, I think becoming a member is beneficial because let's say, Lindsey, you had a business that you wanted to be able to reach more people and you wanted to be part of a team of women that you could collaborate with or network with, then, joining, it doesn't matter if you're in San Diego, if joining us would link you with all of us on the same page. You would be linked with all of our promotions. You would be linked with all of the networking events that we do, because we actually zoom in the providers that are not here on the days that we do networking events, and we have you on a big screen and you're part of the event as much as you can be. But we try to incorporate everybody as best as we can, but we promote to you. Right. So let's say you had a specialty that we didn't have already. I would say, hey, you know what? You got to call Lindsey. She's your girl. She's the one you've got to book with. And then my client would be leaving my office with your information in hand.
Awesome. So that's becoming a member is really more of for practitioners or people who have an area of specialization.
Yeah. Or if they're a coach.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're a coach.
Awesome.
Yeah. Or an intuitive.
Awesome. Okay. In the first initial email that Dana sent to me when she was reaching out, she talked about a mind spa versus
a med spa.
A med spa. Yeah. Can you talk to me about the difference between those?
Yeah. So there's no hate on med spas. So, but I just think that there's so many of them. And so, there's a lot of these places that you can go in and get so many awesome treatments, but you also at least the ones that I'm familiar with are very like nip tuck oriented, and that's great. But there's a lot of them, and they don't always treat the mind part of things. They treat the body and they skip the spirit section. So I think it's very body focused. Over here, the mind spa, we incorporate all three things, which means that you could walk into our place. You could sit with me or one of my clinicians for the mind aspect of it. You can sit with the 14 individuals that I have here that can treat the body in very different ways, or you can sit with any of our intuitives and treat the spirit side. So you're coming in and you have access to all these women that are physically in the space and or virtually able to zoom into the space, and you can pick which section of your mind, body, or spirit you want to work on. And so in addition to that, I also have red light therapy here. I have a salt wall. I have sound baths. I have workshops that are happening here on a regular basis that you can participate in. You can walk in at any point and there will be something. This past week, we had a witches fair because it's Halloween time. And, everybody was, whoever was able to walk in was able to get an aura reading, a sound bath, or build a terrarium that was Reiki infused and get a massage on the way out. So, we have a bunch of things that are going on here on a regular basis. So the Mind Spa takes this concept of marrying the mind, body, and spirit and presenting it in one roof, under one roof. And that's what we have here.
I was just thinking about this idea of mind, body, spirit. Like when we look at the three different areas that make us whole and complete and human, and we do ourselves such a disservice when we only focus on one of those areas. Like you were talking about, one of the practitioners helps those who are on GLP-1 medications or other specific medications, right?
Exactly.
We can be on the medications and we can be doing the lifestyle changes and we can be doing the exercises and
Yep.
all of those. But if we still have these subconscious beliefs that I'm fat, I'm not attractive, I'm never going to be skinny, I'm never going to lose the weight. Like if we still subconsciously have those thoughts, is any of this going to matter? Is any of the other things that we're doing going to stick? So the fact that you're addressing all three of those, I think is so, so valuable and so important.
And how that kind of plays out in real time is if I'm working with a client who has been working on minimizing I should say, like, processing their trauma. If they've been working on processing their trauma to try to minimize the impact it has on their lives and try to live a fuller life. And I keep hitting the same wall. And I've done my EMDR with them. I've done my EFT with them. I've done all these different models with them, and I'm still hitting a wall. I've got 2 individuals that are directly in this space with me that I can refer them to that can take them the next half of that trip that they might need. Right. So I have Kristina for the RTM, the reconsolidation of traumatic memories. And I have April, who can do any sort of hypnosis that might help them get over any subconscious barriers that I can't reach through my modalities. And same with them. If they also are working on these individuals and that person needs a little bit more time processing, they circle back to me with those clients that might fall outside the scope of what they can provide. And it's just this constant resource of referrals back and forth to trusted members and really skilled clinicians and practitioners that believe in each other's practices that help support this individual the entire length of their trip. Right. So it's like at any point you have a soft landing. At any point in your journey, if you work with us, any part of us, you end up having some great guidance. You make great connections. You can be part of a great team and you end up having better results. And I think one of the things that we said earlier in this call, the fact that we need the model of wellness and health in this country to swing back towards to treating the whole person. I think it's important to mention that, when you invest in yourself, it'll always pay you back. And you just have to do that work to invest in yourself. You have to find the means and the resources to really put it towards you instead of putting towards the habits that undermined your care and undermined your goals.
Yes. Well, and I feel like this perspective also, or this approach to health and healing and wellness really helps us zoom out and look at the whole picture instead of, oh, this is the one problem. I need to fix it.
Exactly.
And it does take a host of practitioners, clinicians, coaches, and it takes a willing participant as well.
Yeah, of
so
course.
this is such an amazing resource. I'm looking over some of the questions that I had sent over originally, and I think we have touched on them. One question I did have, so you started noticing symptoms or trying to find solutions to your chronic illnesses and your autoimmune stuff for about 2 years.
Yep. Yeah. So
And
they
then,
were.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead. Finish. Go ahead. Finish. No.
And then from there, you started building this collective. Remind me, it was 2001 that you started having these symptoms?
Yes.
And today you are continuing to add practitioners to you're not done per se. from the time that you started building the collective, what year was that?
I would say the actual Mind Spa idea, I would say 2022. It kind of like, oh,
Okay.
we should really make this a thing that's accessible to everybody in 2022. But the model of me having some of these people that I already had in my life that I was referring to started before 2020. So I kind of took from what I already did, but I amplified it in a much more streamlined way by 2022.
So you were in the midst of healing and trying
Hmm.
to come to balance with your body. That's amazing that you were trying to take on both healing yourself and also building this collective that helps others. That's really inspiring. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I would say that it was interesting well, I guess there was like a parallel experience that was happening at the same time. And it was a lot of my symptoms that were emerging. Uh, my clients were having similar symptoms. And I thought that was interesting because we didn't necessarily have the same diagnosis, but there was very similar things that were overlapping. And I started to suggest things that worked for me, even though they didn't have the same diagnosis. I said, I wonder if this would help you. Why don't you consult with this person? They give free consults. If you tell them I sent you, they absolutely will put you at the top of the list of getting back to you. So why don't you just see if they could assist you in anything? And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, but oftentimes if that connection didn't work with that particular clinician, they knew someone that they could send my client to that could help them. So it was just like a underground railroad of individuals that were just pushing clients through to try to help them get to answers, because that whole time of our lives in this country and globally was completely uncertain. We didn't really have, at that point, it was like anything is better than having nothing as far as answers go, as far as information, and a lot of it was trial and error for all of us that were going through this particular time. And I think we had to all get creative in how we cared for ourselves and we cared for those that we cared about. And I think it just ended up snowballing into a concept that I was able to make real. I mean, this was a marriage of what I already practiced individually and then spearheaded for my own life just to try to make that work. And then at the same time, I was like, guys, let's all go here.
Well, I relate to your story so much of having all of these symptoms, not really knowing where to start, being gaslit by um, professionals, like having band-aid fixes. And I feel like my experience and your experience are not unique. I feel like there are so many women out there who are struggling with symptoms, but not knowing how to get help, not knowing where to start. In an effort, and I've shared my story on previous episodes, but I'm curious if you would be willing to share some of the symptoms that you were experiencing in an effort to help women feel not alone and to know that their symptoms are valid and that there is hope and help in healing. Because looking at you today, and I don't know what's going on, but just from the outside, you look healthy, like your skin is glowing, like your hair's not falling out. You look well, you look like you have energy, you talk like you have energy. And I know that we all put faces on for many different reasons, but would you be willing to share some of your symptoms to help women feel less alone in some of these things?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned the hair part, because that was one of the symptoms that I was struggling with in 2021. Was a lot of my hair was falling out, and I ended up with different alopecia spots all over my head, but it was primarily on the left side of my head, which was interesting. And it didn't actually correlate to anything, specifically the fact that it was on the left side of my head, but it just so happened to work out that way. But I had significant baldness out of nowhere. My hair just fell out in clumps in the shower one day. I pulled my, like when you run your hand through your hair, and then all of a sudden I had like my head was on my hand. So there was that happened. My menstruation cycle was completely a wreck. I was extremely regular every 28 days for 4 days, and then suddenly I was like either bleeding all the time, or it was on and off for the entire month. And everything kind of happened in the same couple of weeks, which made me, you know, curious as to what that was. And I never had COVID. I never had any sort of antibodies from that. I've tried the blood test. I did feel certain things during COVID, but I never actually had that particular diagnosis. But my symptoms now that we have 4 years under our belt from 2020, they correlate with long haul COVID, even though I never had COVID. Right. So a lot of the things that they're seeing happen in women now from either having the vaccine or not, it wasn't important either one. We were all experiencing very similar things. That, the hair thing was the fatigue, there was joint pain, there was swelling, there was inflammation, there was digestion problems, there was the significant ones though were the menstruation, the inflammation, and my hair falling out. Those were the really significant ones. When I was able to find a place, I actually found a group based in California. They were called the Patterson Group, and they put me into a medical trial where they were able to help me isolate what was happening. And they basically had me ship my blood, that I would have my NP over here who does ozone treatment. So she took the blood and we would FedEx it over to this lab, and they would examine it under a scope, and they were able to see that my red blood cells had mutated. And when my red blood cells mutated, they started to attack the spike protein that was in my body from the vaccine, which then landed me in a category of vaccine injury. So I had that come up, and all of these symptoms emerged at the same time. So I ended up on a combination of, Eastern and Western, because I didn't want to take such heavy medication to fix my blood cells and to fix what was happening in my vascular system. This is also, keep in mind, this was 2 years worth of stuff, 2 years of people turning me away and saying they couldn't help me. So the Patterson Group, it took me a little bit of time to find them. When I did find them, I sent everybody to go and get their blood tested because no one else would do it here. So everybody that, whether it was long haul COVID or a vaccine injury, it was mostly women. So everybody that was having these symptoms were like, I said, wow, that's the same thing I have. What did your doctor say? Oh, that doesn't surprise me. Why don't you call these people? And they were all doctors. Keep in mind, they were all doctors. They were all from different specialties, interestingly enough, that they banded together. And they were the originators of the long haul COVID clinics that we have now. They're the ones that set the standard for how to treat long haul COVID because of this study. So because I didn't want to be on that medication for so long, and it gave me additional side effects that made my life hell, I jumped into the Eastern side of things to help balance out what I had to take that was Western, so that I could at least exist outside of my bed, outside of my house, and to be able to show up for my clients and hold the space that I wanted to hold to help them heal. I had to do a significant overhaul in my life to be able to do that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So to anyone who is listening, I guess there is hope. Sometimes it takes a while to find those resources that will help you individually, but what Kristina offers through this integrative wellness collective is such an amazing resource. So if anyone is dealing with symptoms that their doctors are like, your blood work is fine, everything looks fine, you look normal, you're like, wait, my hair's falling out, my body's a mess, I'm in pain all the time, or I'm not sleeping.
Yeah. And my blood work was fine. And it was fine until it went to the lab and it was taken under a microscope and examined that way instead of run through a system that would hit certain numbers. Like my thyroid in particular was also affected by this, and it was always coming up as functioning in every test that I did. And so it was my dermatologist who was helping me with my hair loss who said, why don't you have them test for thyroid antibodies? He's like, because that will show that your thyroid is working harder to find itself in those parameters to be normal. And so all these other clinicians that had nothing to do with what I was trying to find out were giving me little granules and nuggets of information to try to help navigate what I couldn't navigate on my own. So, yeah.
So a lot of what I hear you saying is when we meet with these professionals, whether Western or Eastern, we have to take what resonates with us individually. And that's what's going to make us heal. That maybe everything they're saying is not for us, but maybe it's the push that we need to take the next step or to try the next thing, and there are lots of resources available. That's really the message that I want people to know, is that if something's not working for you, try something different. And with Kristina and the many practitioners and professionals that she has working with her are, I lost my train of thought. This is one of my things that I'm like struggling with right now is train of thought. But many of the women that you are working with have their scope, their lane, and if that's not working, try something new. Like you don't have to. We don't have to be stuck in this one lane forever, trying the same things over and over and over again and not getting anywhere.
Yeah, essentially, I've come across individuals who will say, I can't do X, Y, and Z because my one doctor that I'm running everything through says it won't work. And we don't necessarily know that to be true. Just because the doctor doesn't understand how it might work doesn't necessarily mean it won't work. So I find that sometimes people get stuck in making this person who's wearing the white coat the authority of all things, when in reality they may not be the authority in all things, and you can be the authority in your life, and you can be the one that chooses how to manage whatever is coming up for you. And it doesn't mean you have to dismiss who's assisting you, but I guess in my experience, if someone says that they are the authority on all things, that's a red flag, number one. Number two, you should always have authority in how you take care of your body. Even if you don't know 100% how to take care of your body, you can learn. And I think that everybody can give you a little piece of what you might need to learn, and then you can weave that together or sew that together to make it what you need. Because of course, I'm not telling you to go against what your doctor says, but I think you should choose wisely.
And know that your voice matters, your experience, your opinion, your intuition. If those warning signs come up, like pay attention,
Exactly. Well, that's why that one particular doctor who's going to be here with us full time in January, when she said, who am I to say that it can't work just because I don't understand it? And I had from that moment forward, I had such respect for her, because I didn't come across a doctor that would be so willing to say, I don't know, it's outside my scope. I can only help you with what I understand, but why can't we just bring in a couple other things? I can't tell you it's snake oil or not, because I have never tried it. I've never tried it. She's like, so who cares if it's not hurting you? Why not integrate it? And so, and then watching her having to be burnt out in a system that doesn't support doctors' authority. They don't even support doctors' autonomy, like in that particular system that we see now. So like doctors who are gifted and are excellent and have great intuition are getting sucked into this system that they get crushed in. And that's exactly what happened to her. So that's why she's coming out of there and she's starting something different, because, why not? More and more doctors, I think, are going to start doing that too, by the way, because I think we're going to go back to what we were saying earlier in the call.
First full circle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Kristina. I'm so glad that we got to talk and that we got to share these experiences with me and with my listeners. And
thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I'll be sure to include that link in the show notes. So anyone who is listening, who heard something that resonated, go check out the resources that Kristina has in her collective.